All right, so this is gonna be a tutorial on how to make a simple round coaster with your initial or your name cut into it using the CNC router. So the first thing is you're gonna have to open up Fusion 360, and it'll give you screen similar to this. And I would recommend first changing our units from millimeters to inches. If it's the first time opening it up, you'll be in millimeters. You want to change it to inch. So that's over here in document settings, and you can just click on this and change that. Now, one thing when you're doing a CNC router is your material wants it's way easier if you build it onto the XY plane down here at the bottom and not doing these Z planes. So this is your Z axis going up, so then your X and your Y. So it's way easier if you build your coaster on the bottom because you're going to be moving material from the top. So it's easier if you can move it that way. So I'm going to select that plane, and I have my grid here. I'm going to minimize this. A couple things. I'm going to start with simple circle, center point circle, and I'm going to do it right at the center. And as I come out, I'm going to make mine, let's do 4. So as I'm moving this, I can type in 4, and it'll change it to 4 inches. If I don't want to do it that way, I can create a circle, and then I can come back here and I can press the dimension button or press D for dimension. And I can select the outside of the circle, drag it over here, and type in 4, and it'll change that to 4. Now we need to make it 3D. So I'm going to press Finish Sketch. I'm going to press Home. It'll give me this isometric view. And I'm going to extrude this up. I can press E for extrude, or I can hit my extrude button. And I'm going to extrude this to 3/4 of an inch. And there's kind of what looks like a little puck. Now, a couple things. If I want to move my puck around or my circle around like this, I'm using the scroll wheel on the mouse. I can zoom in and out. And then if I press Shift and use that scroll button, I can move it this way. It makes it a lot easier. If I get kind of lost and I don't know where I'm at, I can press the home button, bring me back here. Now I'm gonna create a pocket inside my circle. So I'm gonna do a circle here, and I'm gonna make this. See, this was 4. I'm just gonna visualize what I want it to look like. So I'm gonna make this 3. So I'm gonna press 3, finish my sketch, press home, and then I'm gonna extrude that down. So I'm gonna press extrude. I'm gonna select that inside circle, and I'm gonna type in negative. We'll do a 1/4 inch down. So I can also drag this up and down. See, if I drag up, it's joining. My operations join. If I go down, negative, I can type in 1/4, 1/4, or 0.75. Either way, it'll know. And now my operating changed to cut, and there's my coaster. Now I want to put my initial in it. So I'm going to start a new sketch, and I'm going to sketch on the bottom of that pocket that I just made. Select that, and I'm going to create a text. And I'm going to create text, and I'm going to do a K. Actually, I'm going to do an M. Now, if I want to do it, these ones that end with .shx, these are line text. It'll make my trace option when I do this a lot easier. If you don't want to do these, you'll have to kind of convert it. So you can choose all these fonts, find one that you like. I like that one. And here's my height of my letter. Let's see what 1 inch looks like. 1.5. It's pretty big. I like that. And then for alignment, I'm going to align center, align middle. I think that looks pretty good. I like that. Oh, no, it changed my script here. No, which one did I have? Let's do that one. Now I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to explode my text. And now it'll kind of change that to that line. So if you don't want to do that, you can use that. Works pretty good. Explodes that. Now I have that line that I can trace with my tool. I'm going to make sure I save this. I'm going to save it into I have a folder called CNC router. And I would name it Monarchy Round Coaster and press save. Now, in order to cut this out onto the CNC machine, we need to go from the design mode to manufacture mode. In my manufacture mode, it's going to automatically make my units in millimeters, so I'm going to adjust that and change that to inches. And I first need to set up my stock. What my setup, when I first put a piece of wood into the machine, I need to set up so the machine knows what I'm working with. I'm going to choose setup and new setup. And on this, I'm actually going to, usually for most things I do, I like doing the bottom left-hand corner. But for this, because I'm doing a tool change and my change of the tool that I'm using is going to change in diameter, it'll change this location just a little bit, going from a quarter inch wide tool to a sharp point. My X and Y will be changed a little bit, but if I keep it in the center, it'll be centered the whole time. So I'm going to do the center here. And for my stock here, for my setup, right now it's relative. I have relative size box, which is usually works pretty well, but it adds an offset, meaning it adds material on each side, which is good for my left around it. I like that, but I'm going to start with 3/4 inch stock, so I want to make sure that's what I'm showing here. So top offset right now it's giving me 400ths. So I'm going to change that to 0, and now you can see my height down here. My stock height went to 3/4, which is what I'm starting with, which is good. And then my depth and my width here just slightly bigger, and that part doesn't matter too much. All right, and I'm press OK, and actually I need to go back into my setup. I forgot to do one thing. So in my setup, I'm going to right click and choose edit, and over my post process, my work offset here, I need to make sure it says 1. Yours will probably say 0 because that's what defaults. Change that to 1, and you can right click, I believe, and save as user default, so you don't have to change that every time. And now I can start making my pockets to cut this out with my machine. So I'm going to do a 2D pocket to cut out my inside pocket first. So the first thing I'm going to do is get to my tools, and I might have to turn on my tools. So I do on mine. So I'm in milling tools, and I'm going to go inch and turn library on. And I'm going to first find a 1/4 inch flat end mill. And that's this one right here. And press select. Coolant, we don't have coolant. I'm going to disable that. Now my spindle speed, just because I know this tool, how I want to work it, I'm going to change that to 10,000. And my cutting feed rate, I'm going to change that to 80 inches per minute. I'm just going to type in 80, and you can see that lead in, lead out, feed rate, that all changes to 80 as well. Now I'm going to come over to my multi-axis, doesn't matter, I'm going to go to my geometry. So I'm going to choose the bottom of my pocket there. Heights, I don't need to adjust. I like what that's at. Now, I don't want to cut this 1/4 inch in one pass. I want to do it in multiple passes. So I'm going to turn on multiple depths and change that to 0.125. That's 1/8. Now, if this is a 1/4 inch down, an eighth plus an eighth is a quarter. So it'll do 2 passes to cut that out. And that's what I want. Finally, over in my linking on my ramp type, I'm going to make sure I change that to plunge. The machines don't like helix. Well, the Patriot doesn't. So I'm going to change that to plunge. And then I can press OK, and it's going to generate that tool path. And there you can see it. It's going to take a minute, 9 seconds. I can right click this and choose simulate. And there's different view options you can mess with down here and over here. I'm going to slow down this a little bit, press play, and you can see there is the path that machine is going to take to cut that out. I can make it go a little faster. There's my 2 passes. That's what I want it to look like. Now I want to cut out around this as well, so it's round. So I'm going to go to 2D. For this one, I'm going to do a 2D contour. I'm going to select the bottom contour here of this. Actually, I need to select my tool. It should be selected for me. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch flat end mill. And then all those numbers from before are all the same. So I don't need to adjust them. But if I was going to, I would go back to 10,000, 80 inches. Geometry, I selected the bottom contour of my coaster. Heights don't need to adjust. Passes, I want to do multiple depths. I don't want to cut 3/4 of an inch in one pass. So I'm going to change this to 1/8 and press OK. And that should cut that out. generating the toolpath, and I can see that's taken 12 hours and 17 minutes. So there, I definitely have something wrong with my multiple passes. It looks like it changed my passes on me. So, yep, I'm going to go back down to 0.125, press OK. And now we're at a minute, and you can see the multiple passes it goes down. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is trace this letter. First, I want to use a different drill bit. So I'm going to actually go to, and these are the tools, the bits that we have to use. So I'm going to go to Google Speed Tools database, and you can get this from my team files. I'll have it in there, but sometimes it might need to update. So here's Fusion 360, and I can download that to my computer. And then in Fusion, I'm going to go up here to Manage the Tool Library. And up here in my local library, I'm going to right click, or maybe it's up here. Right click up in Documents here, Import Libraries. There it is. Press Open. And there's all the different tools that company makes. And that's what we're going to use. We're actually going to use one called 6007. It's a 1/4 inch, 45 degree V-groove bit for engraving. So that's going to press OK on that. Double accept that. That's the tool that I want. Well, we're not even making the thing. So now I'm going to go up to 2D, and I'm going to use my trace. And then for my tool, I'm going to go and select that tool. I'm going to go find my 6007. Number 59. I'm going to change that. I'm going to leave all these sets because these are set by the manufacturer. So these are the numbers that they like to use or they recommend. So I'm going to leave them all. For my geometry, I'm going to select my M, and I can go to my heights, my passes. Now, my axial offset. Last time was multiple depths, so we don't have a depth because I just drew a line. So this is how I tell it how deep I want this to go. So I'm going to change this to a negative. I'm going to take negative 1/8. So that should go an 1/8 inch deep from that pocket. Linking, and I can press OK. And then looks like I have no errors. I can right click this and choose Simulate. And I'm going to watch it go really fast. I'm going to slow it down. Press play. Now I can see it's going to trace the outline of my M from my coaster. All right, the next video will be for how to post-process so I can get it ready for that machine.